So Björgvin, thanks for joining me today. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good.
Great.
Working on some music.
Awesome. So thanks for joining me. We're just talking to different people about their earliest math moments and how different people in their lives influence them for better, for worse, toward math careers or even away. And it's just interesting to hear the stories. And I think everybody has some kind of a math story.
Yeah.
I had a math story. I actually have dyslexia, and so I always loved math because there was very little reading involved. And so I've got a lot of little stories on how that affected me. And I'm always interested in hearing how it affected other people, because when I taught, I heard tons of math stories from children and from parents that I worked with. So I would love to hear your math story. So
Sure. So, in elementary school, I do remember, the typical. Well, obviously, I'm from Iceland, so the schooling is a little bit different. It maybe overlaps. Maybe it's not the right grades or whatnot. But when I was probably around 7 to 10 ish.
mhm,
I remember, you had to do your multiplication tables and learn all of those things, and which was like kind of rote memory sort of thing. But
right.
once that's sort of seared into your brain, it's kind of like learning scales in music theory. You learn
Mhm,
these patterns, and then you can use them to understand and be
mhm,
creative in whatever you decide to endeavor with. But I remember these extracurricular books. So there's the typical curriculum of math, and then we had these books that they were all based on the planets of the
mhm.
solar system.
Okay.
So there was like Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and everything, and it got progressively harder
Mhm.
probably as you got further out into the solar system. And I remember those being like you would just sort of um, you if you had done your homework, or you were sort of just stuck because you were done, you got these extra things that you filled up your time with in class. And
Mhm,
I also remember they gamified it a little bit, or sort of added an element of story to these books. One of the books was, there was it's just very similar kind of to what you do, as they had these books that one says that one was like, now we multiply, now we divide, now we add, or whatever. And it was all I have a faint memory of it all happening on a ship. In the book, like a pirate ship or something like that, which it makes it fun and
right.
easier to digest for a kid. That it was, in this case, it wasn't super cool to be good at school when in my neighborhood when I was
Huh.
growing up. So even though I was rewarded by my parents to get good grades, you were called, like the nerd, or like the prof nerd or
Huh.
whatever. So it wasn't super cool to be good at math, but
Mhm.
um, that may have sort of bled into in my later years when I was a teenager, and like sort of stopped doing a lot of the homework.
Mhm.
And I remember one day, and this was after I changed schools into a different neighborhood, that uh, and I was in a class where actually it was cool to go home and do your homework with your
Uh-huh.
friend. So like just the environment says a lot
Right.
about how much
Yeah.
you decide to focus on learning. But I was also trying to be the cool kid in that new school, and I stopped doing a lot of the I think it was ninth grade homework at that point,
Mhm.
to the point where one day I came home, and my parents were very grim in the kitchen, just
Mhm.
going like, "We just got a call from your math professor." And I was like, "Oh, yeah? And turns out you haven't done a single piece of homework this entire semester." And so my mom, being the overachiever that she is, forces me to take the entire Easter break to make up that entire um, math,
Uh-huh.
basically my entire homework. And I look fun. It was probably a thing that I did not like doing over Easter break, but I do kind of look fondly upon that memory, uh, just from a standpoint of like, yeah, I should have just done all of that, and it
Yeah.
would have saved a lot of time if I would have just spent, 20,
Right.
30 minutes
Right.
or to it.
A good mom to make you do that. That's probably hard for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and then in high school and later years, I had a really great math professor. So me and one of my best friends, still my best friends growing up.
Mhm.
He lives in Holland now, and I live here in Tucson. But we went to high school together in Hafnarfjörður in Iceland, and we had this awesome math teacher. Her name was Hanna Kjeld. I think Hannah. Let's go with
Uh-huh.
that for the English speaking audience. And she was sort of a crazy firecracker, and she was really entertaining
Mhm.
to watch teach, because she would hammer on the whiteboard a lot.
Mhm.
So she would like really drive home the point. It goes like, and then X goes here, and then you put the Y over here, and then you move
Uh,
that over the equation, and then that's the X. And she just slams, slams the whiteboard, and it would crack us up, and it would make us like kind of have fun in class, which
yeah,
is a really great way to make it easier to learn. Is
sure.
like
Yeah,
if you have the emotion of fun, in addition to learning, it's very easy to do.
definitely.
And then
So how
she actually went. She got sick for like half a semester, a full semester,
mhm.
and when she came back, me and Gunni, my friend, we were just like, "Can you please hammer the whiteboard for us?"
That's great that you've got that memory or that you had that at the time. It just takes one teacher,
Yeah,
to
totally.
make a difference sometimes. So how do you use math now in your profession? Maybe you can just
Yeah.
spend a minute
So
on what you do now because it's really interesting because math is probably pretty important for what you're doing right now.
definitely. So I'm a musician, an audio engineer, and audio educator. I run an online business in the music industry where I help home studio musicians and bedroom producers learn how to make their music sound better by teaching them the skills they need to succeed.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I have an audio engineering degree, but I also have a degree in economics and entrepreneurship. And obviously, economics is highly math based.
Yeah.
And I use math a lot in my work when it comes to like analyzing data.
Mhm.
So uh, I probably did not realize when I was learning about percentages how incredibly important it would become to analyze
Mhm.
just percentages based on sort of sales funnels and how much you can spend on an ad, and you need to get an RO return on investment of a certain percentage,
Mhm.
otherwise you go out of business.
Right.
And so I use math a lot when it comes to just analyzing everything that I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um,
And then what about in music itself? Like with the technology you're using for producing and things like that?
Yeah, so well, so music and music in general, and audio engineering in particular, is everything's done in decibels, and the decibel system is a
Mhm.
logarithmic scale, and that
Mhm.
was one thing we needed to learn when we went to when I went to audio engineering school, was how to calculate decibels, and how like 3 decibels is actually a doubling of pressure or
Mhm.
log. I can't really remember at the exact moment, because
Yeah.
there's multiple types of decibels. There's the dBV, dBu, all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So the math that do crunching the numbers isn't necessarily something that I do in the musical sense,
Mhm.
but when it comes to sort of frequencies and understanding how frequencies work and how you can have a buildup of frequencies in a particular frequency
Mhm.
spectrum or area, for instance, like on a
Mhm.
uh, the A on a guitar is 440 hertz, and I know that a second order harmonic of 440 hertz is a doubling of that frequency, so 880. So if
Mhm.
I wanted something to cut through in a song, so if I wanted a guitar to come through in a song without maybe muddying up a lot of the bass, I
Mhm.
know that I can just go and find the sort of double frequency multiple harmonics, the harmonic multiples of the frequency, and I find that by doing a lot of sort of quick multiplications.
Yeah. And you probably feel like you just have a sense for it now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. A lot of
and
it
I
is
think,
sort of just autopilot, because you're not crunching any particular numbers, and obviously you use a lot of tools that do that for you.
mhm, interesting. So it's interesting how it's amazing how, regardless of the profession people have gone in, they're all using math in different ways, especially up through algebra. I'd say up through algebra is really important. And that's where a lot of people have a lot of difficulty is with algebra in middle school and high school and stuff like that. But we all use it. I can't get away from it. So
It's,
anyway,
it's funny.
so
It's
go
funny.
ahead.
It's funny to say about, so that friend of mine who went to high school with me, he actually went on to become and have a PhD in mathematics. So
Wow.
it does
That's pretty neat.
take a good teacher.
That's great. That's great. So we're going to wind down here. It was really fun listening to your stories. But I want to ask you if you can finish this sentence for me.
Okay.
Math is
Practical.
practical. Great. All right. So your word of advice to anybody, any parent out there listening, is to help their kids probably
Try to make it fun in a real world scenario. Like if you can figure out, because like doing math problems in a vacuum without any context of how it actually is practical
yeah.
in the real world is hard. But if you can make it fun, like there's a bunch of physics experiments of how, like air, like if you blow up a balloon, that's like a simple physics experiment,
Yeah.
show volume, right?
Mhm.
But in math, you maybe need to take a little bit of different approach, or you need to figure it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you can make it practical so that they understand how to use it, even
Yeah.
in the like small, little, simplistic world, that they don't have to worry about balancing a checkbook or anything like
Sure.
that.
Definitely.
But
Just
as
make
long
it
as they
real.
can they can understand how it's useful, then
Sure.
it's super.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for joining us. And it was great. It was great hearing your stories.
Yeah. Thanks
So,
for having.
so thanks and have a great day.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.